Hello, it's Steve from Freshagenda here at the IDFA Dairy Forum in Florida. I'm sitting here with Matt Gould, the leading American industry analyst. We're just going to have a bit of a chat about what we're seeing here. Matt, thanks for doing this with us.
Yeah, for sure, Steve.
So, what's your vibe of this conference? What's the feeling out there, do you think?
Yeah, so I think perspective helps. If you think about what this felt like a year ago, is went to Dairy Forum, the peso was crashing, inventories were building, and this is January of 2018. Industry couldn't be more pessimistic.
Yeah.
So you fast forward today, and the industry is, specifically for milk powder, is bullish. It's definitely the tone. End users are worried. We've seen volatility. The traders are perking up. That's milk powder. In general, the tone's mixed, I would say.
Yeah.
Guys in the cheese business are still looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. Guys in the butter business are still saying fat's where it's at. So I don't know. That's how is the tone? Well, relative to a year ago, it's extremely firm. Relative, to a great year like 2014, no.
Okay. Yeah, no.
I don't know. What's your take?
I think it is very mixed. I think there's this thing about this non-fat skim milk powder rally. How long? How strong? Is probably a big question that everyone's deliberating over and asking.
Sure.
What are the signals there, and how strong is demand really going to be to keep that running? It certainly feels a seller's market in that part of the business. There's traders they've got the upper hand.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's certainly it. And it's driven, as always, it's been for a fair while. It's driven out of Europe, so that situation has changed so much. A flood of product coming.
So that's something I want to mention. So I agree with you that it's Europe that appears to be driving this, and the way that shows up in the market is there are some guys who are saying, "But why?"
Yeah.
Because the factor that's pushing the market isn't necessarily domestic. It's outside. Are you picking that up as well?
Yeah. I think that's the way we look at it. That's been the strong driver for the last year. That's that resolution of that stockpile, and therefore the direction that's given the trade is pulling it there. The US has got its own strength though, because the market's tightened a lot. Milk supply and product mix, so that's tightened on fat.
One thing I'm also picking up after Europe and the stock situation in terms of how much is being talked about is China, and China's aggressive buying in the first quarter, and then in questions surrounding, are they buying ahead in the first quarter? Does that mean they're going to disappear for half the year?
Yeah.
Is this a rally that's going to fade? Have you had those conversations?
Yeah, I think, and that's certainly the case. So it's whole milk, which is a different story to skim milk powder, obviously. And there's clouds over milk production, and the tariff situations kind of help that. It's helped the market, ironically.
Yeah.
The actions between in the trade war are helping everybody else, getting product into China and pulling the skim market, pulling whole milk a bit.
Sure.
I think that's. But again, China's still that black box. So if the milk use continues to change towards fresh consumption, therefore it's leaving a bit more room for powder. It's just how far that goes.
I've also had conversations where people are increasingly skeptical of the Chinese milk supply.
Yeah.
And it as being because it appears, although maybe we don't have the data, it appears to be recognized that China bought aggressively here in January and maybe probably into February, and so there's rationalization. Well, what's going on? And there has been talk that it's actually a supply issue, and folks on the ground in China are pointing to that, and they're saying the government data is always suspect, so they're not pointing to government data. They're pointing to. Do you have any thoughts about the potential recession in China? There does seem to be some talk about that. And in the past, the talk has always been, the rising middle class. Well, what do you do if the middle class's income is declining? Does that mean lower sales? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I think there's quite a bit of unseen stimulus stuff that we can't see that is perhaps flowing money or priming money through that economy.
Yeah.
I think the Chinese government is acutely aware of the big risk and they're actively priming their economy to stay afloat from that point
So
of view.
you think that they're going to succeed at that?
I think they will.
Because there does seem to be some at least in the public media regarding that. So if that is the case, that consumption growth probably remains unabated.
It probably does. Look, again, the fresh sector is very positive, but they're seeing the signals that it'll keep pulling through. But I think the business, the trade around the region, I think the Chinese weakness will affect the Southeast Asian region. So I think that risk is still there. So it's a bit mixed up.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. At this point, I think I would say with some level of confidence I'm not hearing demand issue being a problem yet. So far, it's what appears to be a supply issue.
Yep.
That said, with whey, the swine fever in pigs, I am picking up. That's starting to factor. We're hitting a point where guys are saying, "Hey, this swine fever in China is causing demand disruptions for whey products."
Yep.
So
I'd agree with that.
That's a big deal because that's where they import in a lot of whey and lactose permeate to feed piglets.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's become the key food source for that. For that sector.
So I am picking up anecdotes suggesting that that's starting to become real.
Yep. So the sentiment, the mixed sentiment in the US and the cheese market being the big weight of milk use, and that's still looking a bit gloomy. What's going to shift that? What's going to break?
Yeah, so I think I'll describe the cycle that I foresee. We have a major plant expansion. We have continued expansion in cheese production for 2019 and then into 2020. In the U.S., globally, we also are experiencing that. So we have this big increase in supply of cheese. I think we're in a period of oversupply of cheese where the higher value for milk is going to be in butter and powder as opposed to cheese and whey.
Yep.
What will change that? I think the U.S. is going to get in an increasingly competitive position globally, and that they're due to being at a lower price, they're going to start winning back market share.
Yep.
And we're going to see maybe middle of the year, later in the year, a convergence between European and U.S. cheese prices.
Yep. I agree with you.
Because of that change.
So
but I want to emphasize the lag.
Yeah.
It's not a snap. It's a transition.
Yeah. It takes a little while.
Yeah.
And the shutdown, which seems to be in a lot of conversations, people we've discussed around how long is this going to last? What days do people put on it? But in terms of how it's impacting, there's some interesting effects on the trade because it's reduced the visibility and it's created opportunity, no doubt, for a bit of masking of what's the reality. So we certainly picked up that's
yeah. I think there's truth to that. It is. I'll agree with you on that. Just one other thing that stands out to me is the anxiety that the president and the Trump administration introduced into the market. Probably, the beginning of immediately at the start of the presidency. This just seems people aren't talking about it anymore. It's the new normal.
It's the wallpaper.
This is just I like that. Yeah, it's just the environment.
Yeah.
One thing that there seems to be a strong consensus about is that the retaliatory tariffs that Mexico put on U.S. cheese with the steel tariff issue, that in order for the new trade agreement with Canada and Mexico to pass, that those have to come off before the Mexicans are willing are willing to implement it at a government level, and maybe even the U.S. Congress.
Yeah.
So that at least seems to be the next goalpost. Is that that maybe that of course will have some level of stimulus when those retaliatory cheese tariffs come off.
Creates a bit more confidence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Mexico is our largest market for cheese.
Yeah. So that's fairly good coverage. Anything else? Any other things you want to throw? Any wild card factors?
One thing to mention is that dairy industry is preparing for growing disruption. There's currently a wave of plant-based disruption, which hit fluid milk this past year. It's hitting poultry products this year. And the next wave is going to be cellular protein, and there's been a number of conversations around that. So
that disruptor, that new competitor.
It's a new competitor that never existed before.
Yeah. It's coming on strong.
And one of the other consensus points is that it's the dairy protein side, whether that's yogurt or milk, that is going to be affected. Butter, cheese appears to be insulated.
Yeah. No, that's certainly agree with that. Well, that's been very good. So it's a good event. I mean, there's it's like this early New Year warmth. You know, a whole lot of people from the northern parts of the industry, where most of the industry is, come down for a bit of a bask.
Yeah, it was dropped below 0 Fahrenheit in much of the Midwest and Northeast. While we were here in our t-shirts.
Yeah. Well, I just read something that says it's minus 15 right now in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which
what is that? What's that in Celsius?
That is Celsius.
Minus 15 Celsius. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably a wrap. That's been awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks
to you, Matt.
Me.
Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thanks for coming out here.
That's all right. Look, goodbye from us.